2022 was a busy year. For me, for you, and for the world at large. 2 years out from the start of a major pandemic, and yet many of us seem content to continue living on as if it never happened. Frankly, it's something I'm quite sick of seeing day in and day out. How could we all so easily move on from such a massive historic event that killed so many people and still lingers to this day? Man, I don't think anything will ever be truly reflective of mankind's nature than how we all reacted to The Last of Us Part 2. This is my contrived way of saying that's going to be the next Controversy episode, so look forward to it. Likely somewhere in between the HBO show and the release of the PC version. Maybe, I'm not sure. It's been a pain in the ass writing that one. Speaking of pains in the asses, 2022 was stuffed with all sorts of game controversies. Despite being very busy this year, I've had plenty of time to read about the shit we're going to be going over today, and it's one of the most versatile showcases I've procured for this sub-series in a good bit. I'm talking lawsuits, I'm talking leaks, I'm talking rip-offs, gender arguments, porn, all sorts of horrible work practices in the gaming industry, and even more arrests than we've ever talked about before. I'll even throw in some follow-ups to past incidents, cause why not? True, we may have gone over these subjects in some form at various points already, but all in one video? Well, that's just how we're gonna be rolling here as we discuss the biggest gaming controversies of 2022 that I missed. And let's start off where we last left off.
I wish for all the money in the world!
So last year, Activision went and shit the bed in the worst fucking controversy we've seen in quite some time. And developments on that front haven't improved, at all. So we're just gonna have to wait and see how the main lawsuit proceeds to get some more details once that damn trial kicks off in February. Until then, we have to deal with what was the latest development in this saga at the start of this past year. One that happened not even a few days before the most recent video in this little saga had been finished. Thanks. On January 18th, 2022, Microsoft Incorporated announced that they were going to be purchasing Activision for nearly $70 billion. Cash. The reasoning for doing so that was provided by them was something along the lines of wanting to further their competition with larger tech companies like Google or Tencent, or most tellingly, Meta, as Microsoft seemed to be itching to have a go at them and their little metaverse thing, even though they didn't have a VR system of their own, just that HoloLens. Of course, the huge Bobby Kotick-shaped elephant in the room was that Activision's value had tanked due to their ongoing lawsuits and scandals, so the investors figured this was the quickest and most lucrative way out for everyone involved. But let's just ignore any possible relations to past scandals for now, because we have to consider the fact that this acquisition attempt has the potential to be the largest game acquisition in video game history, and Microsoft would then be owning some of the largest franchises in all of gaming, like Call of Duty, Candy Crush, everything under Blizzard's meaty claws, and that prospect has sent many folk into a big fervor, and rightfully so. First off, for anyone thinking Microsoft will rightfully punish Kotick for his alleged transgressions should this go through, yes, it was initially reported that he would be stepping down from his position as CEO once this was all put into place, but he's keeping that role for now until it does, and since then there have been conflicting reports from both him and Microsoft as to whether or not that'll even happen. Even if he does leave, though, he'll be leaving with a huge-ass severance package. I wasn't expecting otherwise, cause that's how these things tend to play out, but oh well, at least hell exists. But let's actually remove ourselves from any relations to past scandals, and let this be a good reminder that there have been a lot of game acquisitions as of late. There was a very good article I found while doing research that covered these rampant consolidations, and I'd recommend giving it a read, because while it does remain rather neutral on the topic, it goes over a fair amount of the potential consequences this trend could have in the future, especially with the direction the major games industry seems to be headed. The point is, an acquisition with a price tag of this size going through is worrying. Microsoft isn't just biting off more than it can chew, it's trying to devour a fucking buffet table. It's also something regulators across the world at large would need to approve of, and a year later, that hasn't been going super well. Yeah, a few countries have already approved of the deal with no concessions whatsoever, but the places that actually matter have stifled the process at the moment. The European Union certainly wasn't so quick to approve of it as they were when Microsoft had bought out ZeniMax, and the US Federal Trade Commission are currently seeking to outright block this acquisition from ever having a chance of going through. This was the most surprising development, as it's normally the Justice Department that gets involved with these types of large acquisitions, and the FTC tended to stick with lesser areas, even though they have more than enough power to tackle something like this. Looking into their recent history though, it seems like they've been more aggressive with attempting to break up these tech mergers and acquisitions they've deemed harmful, especially since their current head took office. Microsoft responded to the lawsuit in the manner you'd expect them to, stating all the reasons as to why it should go through without issue, and, in their infinite wisdom, calling this attempted suit unconstitutional. Right. They walked back on that a little bit later, but that's about as far as these developments have gone for the past year. I personally wouldn't be too fond of seeing this pass without some major, and I mean major, concessions, so we'll just have to see how things go once again. Okay, Sony, you're not helping with the situation here. And neither are you, Saudi Arabia. Oh yeah, there's that other Bungie thing, too. So, YouTube is a broken shit heap. Should go without saying, but it's worth repeating once in a while, and to prove it, we need look no further than this little blip that happened during the summer, and I imagine a lot of y'all either forgot or didn't even know about. But do not fear, my children. I am here to gift you with the knowledge of extensive internet research, and my first piece of this powerful insight is as follows. Destiny has a large fan base. No, seriously, trust me on that, they do. Its wonderful father, Bungie, is also very appreciative of that fanbase, especially all the content they put out that freely promotes their brand. But sometimes they need to enforce certain measures online to put the smackdown on those fans and protect their brand. During the previous yearly season, various reports started coming out that various Destiny-related videos were being removed from YouTube via various copyright takedown notices. Various rumors circulated around the Destiny community that this was all Bungie's doing and they had finally gone full wacko for whatever various reasons, which were swiftly debunked once they had posted an announcement explaining that they were not only aware of the takedowns, but their own YouTube channel had been affected as well. The company then launched an investigation and learned these takedowns were being sent by someone impersonating them in an attempt to besmirch their good name and brand. Following more investigations lasting a full 2 months and primarily consisting of waiting for Google to cough up the info, they discovered the culprit behind the mask, Lord Nazo. Yep, a fellow Destiny music YouTuber who previously got in trouble with Bungie for ripping music straight from the soundtrack of one of the game's expansions, The King, and uploading it to their channel. In case you weren't aware, direct soundtrack rips are pretty half and half in regards to whether or not they'll get hit with takedown claims, and in this case, Bungie had exercised their rights to do so, hitting Nazo's channel with various takedown requests. For, various reasons, Nazo refused to comply, so their whole channel ended up being disabled for a good while. Now, they had a couple ways of going about this. They could just start anew and try to make content that doesn't get them destroyed by claims, or try to expose just how broken the copyright system is and the slight hopes that YouTube may actually do something about it this time. As you can probably surmise, they went with the latter. And by God, they sure did expose just how broken that copyright system is. If only they hadn't single-handedly crippled the music side of the Destiny community thanks to a majority of those takedowns being permanent, and irreparably severed any and every relationship they had in that community, then maybe that would have worked. Oh, and they got sued up the ass by Bungie as penance. Nice work there, my lord. Surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, Nazo would go on to deny these spurious claims and maintain that position to this day. Maybe they'll change their minds as their 2024 trial draws near, but I bet some of y'all are still reeling over the fact that Bungie is suing the absolute fuck out of him. Here's another drop of insight for you children. This isn't the last time they'd get a lawsuit going against one of their fans. Although that one's somehow even more volatile. Looking at this as a whole, I'm not gonna celebrate this idiot getting his ass blasted into oblivion here. I mean, hell, if Bungie wants to sue him, why not just go after YouTube or Google too? I mean, yeah, I know why. But this dude clearly didn't take any time to think about how their methods to expose the copyright system's flaws was, to put it nicely, flawed. Like, imagine if Gilvasunner had tried this shit while Nintendo was in the middle of breaking apart their channel with copyright takedowns. And Nintendo's even more stringent with their brand and YouTube, and as we'll see later, ain't afraid of pulling large suits themselves. See, I'll demonstrate myself. Here's another piece of knowledge to take home. After I fill this out, all I need to do is... I want you to be mine again, baby. Wow, people sure were upset about, a character being revealed as transgender. Gee whiz, what a shock. I mean, if the series creator is saying so, I don't know why there's any need for debate. I did look into the character's appearances in past Guilty Gear games, and well, it's a pretty messy history as far as their origins go, but it's not really much of a surprise they went in this direction anyway, and as a result, that messiness feels rather fitting. But oh boy, if you thought the responses to this were embarrassing, you should check out the responses from 20 years ago. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave these up and leave it at that. Honestly, all that really matters is that she ballin'. And she is ballin'.
And so British.
Okay, again, trust me on this, it goes places. Poppy Playtime is an indie horror game from Mob Games that had its first episode released onto Steam in late 2021 for the insane price of nothing. Yep, we're bringing it back to the old shareware days of the early 90s, putting out the first episode as something for free, then making anyone interested in further chapters pony up cash. Which is still a good release strategy if this thing is of any indication. The obvious similarities to Five Nights at Freddy's did not go unnoticed, but that probably helped the game even more, especially with that series' latest title, not turning out so great. Oh, and the other stuff we talked about last year. I mean, for fuck's sake, it's already got its own movie deal too. Can't wait for that to also languish in development hell forever. However, there has been a surprising number of controversies following its instant popularity, and we can start with the developers releasing an NFT collection barely 2 months after its release. Well, I guess they had to make money somehow. In response to the instant backlash, the developers apologized for releasing this collection and pledged to donate any profits made off of it to go directly to the Clean Air Task Force. The collection is still available for purchase to this day and handily shows how many folks bought into the scam. So if we factor in the prices here, we can suggest that before whatever cut this site took, they made over 11 grand on these NFTs, out of a potential 450 grand. Well, the task force has to make their nonprofit money somehow. As for stuff that happened this year, we got a classic case of internet drama, as an animation YouTuber by the name of accused the studio of plagiarizing their own survival horror game, Venge. They also directly accused the company heads of doing real mean shit to them during past interactions, which included bullying and harassment and sexualizing their Minecraft character through memes while they were still a minor? Well, Mob Studio didn't outright deny the allegations, but did play down their severity, as they stated they were also minors at the time, and they were just joking around, bruh. Don't take this shit so seriously, bruh. And, yeah, I just remembered why I don't generally cover internet drama. But thankfully, we've got an even more classic case of fear-mongering among our fragile society to talk about instead. See, much like with other popular media, Poppy Playtime was exploited for all sorts of cheap video content on YouTube and TikTok, and a countless amount of ad-riddled ripoffs from Google Play and the App Store, mostly featuring the game's signature antagonist, Huggy Wuggy. This content proved to be very, very popular with them kiddies. So popular, in fact, that according to concerned parents and police people in the UK, it led to several instances of kids playing school ground games that involved whispering nasty, nasty things into the other person's ear, singing creepy lyrics from a fan-made song, and in the case of one incident, a 3-year-old nearly jumping out a high-story window in an attempt to imitate the character. Like I said, classic. Over in Turkey, Huggy Wuggy proved to be so terrifying for some kids, any and all merchandise featuring them was banned from sale, and any company caught selling them goods would be fined. Again, classic. And in the most extreme case, which... Okay, seriously, I'm gonna have to prop up a little content warning here. Skip to this timestamp if you don't want to hear it, because it's actually kind of fucked. Over in Uruguay, 7 kids were reportedly injured after playing with a mobile app featuring the character, who was encouraging them to cut themselves with a pencil sharpener. 2 of the kids needing to be hospitalized. Well, okay, I've not heard that one before. As you'd expect with typical fear-mongering, a lot of the conversation surrounding these incidents saw the usual stuff about preventing kids from watching this kind of media to protect them and their mental health, but I'm pretty goddamn sure we're not getting all the information we need here, and I'm not convinced some of this stuff isn't just outright made up. This whole time, though, and through all this research, all I could think about was what the hell people saw in this thing that got it to this state of popularity and indirectly sparked that crap. So I downloaded the first chapter off of Steam and had our intern, Regis Dayron, play through it. Are you fucking kidding me? From what he told me, for something that's so heavily aping off the style of FNAF and could have easily amounted to another one of the endless survival horror games off the platform, it's a surprisingly decent concept. You're going through an abandoned toy factory trying to find the survivors of an incident that had resulted in getting the place shut down 10 years prior, and there was a lot of effort put into giving this place a very foreboding history. He could tell that FNAF was a definite inspiration, but what it really reminded him of was Portal, as the first part of the game features puzzle mechanics that use these extendable and grabbable hands to get items and open doors and redirect electricity to restore power. It's pretty novel stuff and could definitely carry the game by itself. But then there's that second part where the survival horror kicks right back in as you get chased around by the deadly Huggy Wuggy, and that's not nearly as fun. Don't get us wrong, we can both see now why some folks view that thing as utterly terrifying, but trying to navigate through these vents and having only a few seconds to figure out where you need to keep going without getting your head ripped off by that monstrosity made the whole ordeal more annoying than scary. Still, it was not a bad experience. I don't think he or I would honestly mind playing through the second chapter. We're not going to, but it is a nice thought to have. You made me feel like my childhood heart is a So we got another Pokemon game out this year. 2 of them actually, but I'm talking about a mainline Pokemon game, which means another shitfest going over the same stuff we've gone over before. At least that's what I thought was going to happen. I didn't think that Nintendo, Game Freak, the Pokemon Company, Creatures, Keebler, Nike, SpaceX, Greenland, Martha, and whoever else was involved in this mess were so upset that Rockstar blew them away in the competition for the Worst Performing Game at Launch award last year. They decided to make sure that there would be no competition at all for the next one. Now, I have been defensive with previous Pokemon controversies because they tended to be wildly overblown. Like, sure, I wasn't super happy I couldn't transfer my shiny camera up to Pokemon Shield, but I wasn't gonna break someone's arm over it. I also didn't care much for the Gen 4 remakes from last year, but they're not ruining my precious memories of sneaking my DS up to my room to play Pearl all night. No, my parents did that instead by burning the house down. With that said, having witnessed the endless stream of gameplay clips featuring Violet and Scarlet's poor launch stage and the endless stream of disgruntled fans chastising those involved for putting this out as is, I realized I'm not very interested in playing it at this moment. to clarify, this very deep and internal discovery was not solely due to the crap fest that was this game's launch. As I stated in the latest Crazy Thoughts, I've been taking the time to try and go through a bunch of games in my backlog before catching up with the more current games. But I also can't lie and say this isn't the culmination of my interest in the series slowly trickling out of my system over the past few years either. I don't think I've expressed how much I really do love Pokemon, so let me state for the record that goddamn do I love this series. I've been with it since I was watching the anime on Cartoon Network in the mid-2000s, and with the game since, again, the original Diamond and Pearl, and it's always been interesting following the franchise through its highest highs and lowest lows. But at the end of the day, it makes so much goddamn bank outside of the games that many people, including its makers it would appear, realize that the games don't have to be of the best quality in order to sell and prop up that brand. And it's just so frustrating to see how that rampant development cycle has been kneecapping that quality as of late. Yeah, patches can fix a lot of the issues, people are still having fun with the game, you haven't played it yourself so your thoughts don't matter, blah 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 blah. Well, any thoughts on this aren't gonna matter if the games keep being treated like this. At the very least, Nintendo acknowledged that there were a lot of people upset with the launch and offered an apology. And the optimistic side of me can't see them wanting the series to continue to have this kind of reputation. Then again, the cynical side of me says the game sold 10 million copies, and it's only a tiny percentage of people complaining about it, and only on social media, if that. So, who knows? I'll probably get around to the games eventually anyway, and I'm happy folks are having fun regardless of whatever glitches they may have encountered, or whoever says they're lamos for continuing to buy into the series. But personally, I need a break. And Pokemon could use one too. I'll say this for the Pokemon Company though, at least they're making some progress in treating their workforce like proper human beings, which their partner could learn a thing or two about. Seamless transition.
Because clean is better than dirty, and dirty's meaner than clean.
I'm sure this came as a shock to many people, but yep, Nintendo has those coveted closet skeletons in their labor facilities as well. Let's go down the checklist, shall we? A toxic work culture, seeing exploitation of contract workers and providing them with less benefits than full-time employees? Check. Few to none of these contractors being promoted to full-time? Check. Discrepancies between male and female workers involving staff balance, pay, and more leaning in the male's favor? Check. Routine sexist behavior from many of the male higher-ups and harassment against the female employees with some specific allegations towards specific people? Check. Fear of repercussions over discussions about said work culture pervading throughout the facility? Check-a-mundo. Oh, and no crediting for the testers that do large amounts of the QA work and probably got completely shat on during the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet fiasco. That's a bingo! And it looks like the prize is possibly learning even more info in the future about how terrible of a company Nintendo is to work for. At least their American division. Gosh, those video game unions sure are popular these days, ain't they, Doug? It sure would be a shame if those union-busting campaigns stopped working. Also, good job with that whole Gary Bowser thing, no relation. Prison time ain't gonna scare anyone away from piracy, y'all. You're just gonna end up reinvigorating folks who are already pirating your games and converting others because you suck. Okay. Let's take a breather here and follow up with another old friend, shall we? You'll remember Cookstar, Cooking Mama, Cook Fuck. Well, for anyone who couldn't discern the details of that controversy when we last talked about it, 2020 saw a new entry in the beloved casual kitchen sim series released on the Switch. Thanks to the good people at Planet Entertainment through a license provided by the good people and the original creators at Office Create. However, during the day of its release, Office Create forced Planet to take the game down from the eShop as they were breaching their contract due to the termination of that license, because Planet's offering was apparently not up to their usual standards. Thus began a legal battle that went on behind the scenes for over 2 years, during which Planet Entertainment went and released a PS4 version of Cookstar a year after the Switch release because fuck legal ramifications. Office Create put out their next entry in the series, Cooking Mama Cuisine, onto the Apple Arcade a year after that because fuck Planet. Planet released another kitchen cooking sim game earlier this year called Yum Yum Cookstar, because fuck integrity, we're just gonna keep milking this shit and making fun of y'all, before finally, this past fall, the legal battle was settled through the International Chamber of Commerce, with Office Create coming out as the victors, forcing Planet to remove any and all copies of the game from the market and to shell out all the profits made off of it as well, and paying legal fees. Well then, I hope Yum Yum Cookstar keeps them out of the red. So I don't really have any thoughts about the lawsuit itself, it's pretty clear cut. I'm just wondering how bad this game really could have been that Office Create were willing to sue to get it off the store shelves. So I had the intern play the copy of the game I have without the shrink wrap, and from what he told me, it's...
Come on, you can do it. Hurry.
Are you fucking kidding me? It's Cooking Mama. We've never played any Cooking Mama games, like, ever, so we can't really compare it to past efforts, but based off of footage from those past games, it just seems like the same Cooking Mama stuff as usual. The same step-by-step cooking playthrough minigames that have quick-time adjacent buttons and motion control sequences, all being commented on by the titular Mama, speaking in the same vaguely English accent with the same English phrases as usual.
Wow, even better than Mama.
Yeah, it's weird. I even checked footage for Cuisine, and it is very similar looking to Cookstar, so I don't know, maybe we're missing something, maybe there was some hidden depth in those past games that this one just does not have, but we just don't see it. But hey, now that it's gone from sale forever, I can try putting up the unopened copy on eBay for $500 fucking million godzillion dollars and be set for life. Huh. Man, I guess those blockchain rumors really killed its value. Speaking of blockchains, we of course have to bring up the wonderful folks at Square Enix, who are always taking inspiration from the greats. Yes, only true innovators like them would snag the developers for those Switch-exclusive Battle Royale-inspired games that were popular for 1 minute, and allow them to craft the long-awaited sequel to the fan-favorite cult classic Final Fantasy kart racing spin-off, Chocobo Racing. The pangs of disappointment stemming from the abandonment of the 3DS entry announced at E3 2010 would no longer be felt as fans could finally partake in a modernized version of their favorite arcade racer, which had been thusly titled Chocobo GP. And upon release, players rejoiced in how they had the choice of not one, but 2 versions of the game to play. A free version, which included the most basic parts of the game, and a paid version that included some of the worst micropayment shenanigans for a full-price game I've seen in a good-ass while. Sorry, did I say rejoice? I meant spit in Squeenix's dumb face. $50 nets you access to the Prize Pass that allows you to slowly grind in-game currency to level up your racers and unlock a whole bunch of useless stuff. It also includes the premium currency that can be acquired by using premium money, and it's a battle pass. It's a fucking battle pass in a goddamn kart racing game. Shockingly, Squeenix got shat on pretty hard for the inclusion of these mechanics, and they responded by promising to balance them out to create a better experience while offering free premium currency for everyone, which expires after a certain period of time as opposed to the premium currency that is actually purchased with actual premium bucks. Well, they just had to make their money somehow. I'm not usually miffed about this crap whenever I see it these days, but this is just so unabashedly scummy for a game of this kind. I can't help but wonder if they saw what the Crash Team Racing remake did with its bullshit microtransactions and thought that would make for a perfect excuse to revive that spin-off. I don't know about you, but I don't think that worked as well for them. After all, the blockchain is where it's at, baby. That shit will never fail, Squeenix, the true legendary publishers of our time. Well, it has certainly been some time since we've talked about Platinum Games on this show, hasn't it? Yeah, some of their work helped craft the first few episodes of Controversy, and we haven't had to feature them since. But goddamn if they weren't busy this year in that regard. For better or worse. mostly worse. We do have a few topics to choose from. Babylon's Fall, for example, perhaps their largest failure to date, as it failed so hard its servers are set to shut down not even a year after release. Wait, why does that sound familiar? Oh, hello again, Square Enix. I almost didn't notice you. Man, it's not really been your year either, has it? We could also talk about that fucking Nier Automata hidden room, hidden door, hidden crevice between 2B's ass, or whatever the hell that was, which blew up for some inexplicable reason, despite how it was just a prank. But alas, it looks like the controversy gods have looked down upon yours truly once again, and stated that the first Platinum Games-related controversy we look at since Bayonetta 2 would be Bayonetta 3.
Thankfully, this time around, it didn't involve any stupid arguments over exclusivity or the super sexy portrayal of the titular character. Nope, this was, it
was a lot stranger than either of those. It was a few weeks out from the game's release when Platinum had confirmed in a Game Informer interview that Bayonetta's longtime VO, Helena Taylor, was not going to return for this game, choosing to switch her out with Jennifer Hale instead. This was unfortunate, but nothing exactly new with certain roles in games or other voiceover roles in general. But things seem to be moving smoothly in spite of that. We get a little bit closer to release day though, and that momentum comes to a hard stop. Madame Helena posted a Twitter thread containing some rather dramatic videos where she put Platinum on blast by revealing she was offered only a flat rate of $4,000 for all the potential work she'd need to do, and that they'd refuse to pay her any more than that. She even went as far as to ask fans, and just anyone paying attention, to boycott the game and put that $60 to charity instead. This was even more unfortunate, as it's not exactly a new issue one could experience in this industry, but Platinum was not going to be able to simply wait this one out, because folks were pissed. None of this was helped by Hideki Kamiya pulling a Hideki Kamiya so hard that his Twitter account was briefly suspended. So I'll say now, I do not begrudge anyone who was very upset with the situation, especially since it led to some pretty interesting conversations regarding these kinds of conditions. I just had the slightest feeling that there was something more to this than meets the eyes. And lo and behold, there was. After a few days of retaliations against Platinum had passed, a few journal-type folks had looked into Taylor's claims, and that resulted in a few articles which had counterclaimed that those claims were shaky. According to their sources, Platinum actually had intended to hire Taylor for the role, requesting her services that would, indeed, have a max payout of $4,000 per session. And with the number of sessions that Platinum may have been wanting to ask for, this could have potentially netted her almost $20,000 in total. This is definitely much higher than what Taylor herself reported, but apparently she thought this was just way too low and had asked for a larger six-figure payout instead, as well as residuals. Well, for some just completely bizarre reason, Platinum balked at this offer, and the two couldn't come to an agreement, so Taylor left the conversation altogether, and Platinum snagged Hale for the role instead. They did make one more attempt to get Taylor in for a little cameo role, and offered her a single 4,000 bucko payment to do so, but she declined once again, and that was the end of it, until she went to Twitter. Taylor denied these allegations at first, but about a week after that, and a fair amount of the counter-retaliations, she had amended her story, stating that she was indeed offered a larger payment for her services than what she had originally told us Gamerumis. So yes, she was truthful with her story in a sense, it's just those other details were omitted because various reasons. What's even funnier is that she had stated in the very first video that she was somehow under the impression the franchise was worth nearly $500 million smackers, excluding merchandise, and that's why she wanted more compensation for the work. I don't believe that's quite accurate considering the sales numbers the first two games have made, and the price cuts that were made to them that likely accounted for those sales. But, well, I'm not really mad about the situation, just kind of bewildered, like, what the fuck did you think was gonna happen? It's just, I'm not gonna get another chance to say this, so,
back to the depths of theater with thee, you vile witch!
Because what started as a sympathetic plea has now turned into something as needlessly messy as the previous game's controversies. Especially since those conversations I mentioned earlier are now under the pretense of a false pretense. If you're stupid though, because let's hammer down some thoughts. Does this turn of events mean those discussions are now worth nothing? And is every voice actor controversy or scandal from henceforth going to be colored by this incident? I would like to think no, but it's the internet, so who the fuck knows. But one screw up does not invalidate any past or future occurrence of this kind of shit happening. Yes, it's fine to be a bit more cautious in light of this new droplet of wisdom, but it doesn't make the current state of the voice acting industry any less bullshit. In the meantime, let's check out those charities that Taylor had linked in their last tweet thread. I mean, she did donate all of her convention circuit proceeds to charity, so let's see what she recommends and see if they may be worth any. Oh no.
I'm Mr. Imposter. I'm Mr. Sus.
Yeah, it's a scam. Don't buy into it. Kojima's not impressed either. We're done here. Next. Well, bite my thick, juicy, controversy-filled ass. Are we back to the good old years of a Rockstar controversy happening every year again? And it's an entirely unique one at that? Oh, happy day. Anyway, yeah, the Rockstar saga made another swerve this year with an incident that seemed even larger than the GTA Definitive Edition snafu. During the early hours of a mid-September day, a user on the GTA forum site posted a link to several videos containing what they claimed to be an hour's worth of footage from an unfinished build of the next mainline GTA game. This was met with the expected skepticism that comes with supposed leaks, but the footage was being spread wide and far almost immediately regardless, and once the leaky experts started chiming in about how it had matched previous claims about the game's content, it became clear that this was not another goof. This was the real shit, and a plethora of various copyright takedowns followed in case there were any doubters. Hoo boy. I will admit I didn't see any of this footage firsthand, nor am I gonna go searching for it, so y'all can see with y'all's own eyes. Oh wait, actually here, let me go ahead and just try that real quick. Okay, here I got the footage. Oh, dum. Would you look at that, boys? what a lovely classic little joke that Take-Two's playing on us. What I can say is that this isn't the first leak of an unreleased Rockstar game the world has seen. Though, as one may expect from a company that likes keeping information about their games airtight and controlled, it mostly amounted to game maps and speculation regarding the actual content, and Agent... God, who remembers that thing? In any case, none of them involved an hour's worth of unfinished gameplay footage being spread all over the internet, and in the midst of Take-Two's damage control, Rockstar put out a statement explaining that the leak was the result of a network intrusion, while expressing their disappointment that it had happened in the first place. On the bright side, they also stated that this would not affect the ongoing development for the game in any major way. I suddenly realized this isn't nearly as exciting as past Rockstar controversies, so let's pretend that instead they said, "Fuck those fucking cock-gobbling shite faces, I hope they all burn in hell!" As of writing, there hasn't been any more updates on that front, beyond more additions to GTA and Red Dead's online multiplayer stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were some changes made behind the scenes in the wake of this fiasco. Also in the wake of this fiasco was more speculation that this was actually a massive publicity stunt pulled off by Rockstar from the inside. Cause the hype for whatever the hell this thing is ain't going anywhere, so why not heat it up a bit more with some leaked footage? I gotta say that's definitely an entertaining idea to throw around and it would have some viability if the person behind the hack hadn't been discovered and arrested a week later. A fucking teenager at that. And not the last publicized gaming-related arrest of a teenager to happen this year, come to think of it.
Hey, Matan. You know, real quick, I want to thank everybody and say that I think I want to nominate this award to my Reformed Orthodox Rabbi, Bill Clinton. Thank you, everybody.
Some girls are bigger than others.
So the PS4 version of this game is the standard $60, and you get a free upgrade to the PS5 version if you're running it on that, but for $70 you can get the PS5 version, which is the same exact game as the upgraded PS4 version, except it's $10 more because Sony actually did want to charge that extra $10 for the PS5 upgrade from PS4 anyway, despite saying that they weren't going to, but they got slapped in the face hard enough that they kept it free. So instead, they just hid the digital PS4 version of the game on the PS5 store, forcing anyone who doesn't want to get ripped off to buy it on the PS4 store first, or elsewhere, or just get a physical copy. Why'd I get this fucking console again? I've mentioned this before, but from around the start of this series up to now, I've relied on Wikipedia's ever-changing and growing list of controversial video games article for inspiration and new topics no one else cares about. Because even with all those other articles and videos that are talking about the biggest controversies of the year, some weird stuff can fall through the cracks. Sadly, this year was pretty barren as far as entries go, one of them being Diablo Immortal, aka... So it was up to the other one to pique my interest, and it sure did. So let's talk about Beat Refle. Riffle. This is a rhythm massage game that was originally titled Massage Freaks. And the game's scenario goes as, and I'm quoting the store page directly, the protagonist, self-insert whoever man, takes over his late grandfather's massage parlor and performs massages on the young women who visit to help relieve them of their troubles and pay off his grandfather's debt. The developer for this hit title all the kids are talking about was Crepe, whose past work includes such other hits like Neko Miko, Prison Princess, Fantasy Tavern Sextet, Nin Days, Idle Days, The Future You've Been Dreaming. I think it's been made clear what kind of developer these fellows are. I will be honest though, seeing their games and many other games of this sort just pop up on both Switch and PC here in the States over the past decade is pretty interesting. Although Steam can be a little touchy with some of them, and speaking of touchiness, Massage Freaks caught a bit of heat due to its particular nature, and some even criticized it for being way too reminiscent of certain crimes that had been occurring in Japanese massage parlors as of late. Following these criticisms, Crypto announced that the game was going to be delayed indefinitely. And thus we will continue to be starved of any type of ecchi content as we have been for so many years. Boo, I say, boo! Funnily enough, this isn't the first time that Loot Crate has come under scrutiny for their games, thank you Dual Princess, and one could make an interesting comparison between this massage-themed title and another massage-themed title that had actually went a bit viral earlier in the year, Orc Massage. I mean, that game's still up on Steam and has far more explicit content in it, so with this in mind, one could ask the question of, why does this sexual massage game get to stay up on the site while Massage Freaks gets put through the ringer? Again, it could make for an interesting comparison. If Orc Massage's cast had also shared forenames to real-life Japanese pop idols. Whoops! But we do have a positive ending here, as the delay lasted less than a month and the game did see a Steam release under the new title of Beat Refle, although the Switch version is still up in the air, if not outright canned. I was gonna have Dayron play it just to see if it really was worth any of this trouble, but nope. He declined to do so this time around. But hey, it's up, so anyone who's still interested can freely do a fun massage, and if they do well enough during that massage, they'll activate the patented nice, totally relaxed mode, i.e. That's a borderline dad joke, you hacks. Yeah, fuck this shit, I'm sticking with enjoy your massage. Even if it's just Simon Says, at least it doesn't treat me like a simpleton. Keeps happening, just keeps happening, and it just keeps happening, and it just keeps happening. happening. The higher ups getting hit with flames, and they don't own up to mistakes they've made. They go, who's to blame? Who's to blame? Then they put it all on those who brought them fame. Boom, boom, boom. Abuse, harassment, and public shame from both the indies and AAA. They go, you're to blame, you're to blame. Then they sit back and lap up all the acclaim. Doom, doom, doom. They are toys and illusion for someone with a brain contusion who thinks they can treat the people underneath like shit. And they're sick of it. So to those who think it's just a game that's all dependent on how it's framed, they're to blame, they're to blame. And all this crap is really fucking lame and inane and stupid.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me fuel, give me fire, give me fuel, give me fire.
I was going to introduce a new segment for this sub-series that would allow me to quickly go through follow-up events to previous controversies so that I wouldn't need to waste time repeating myself and junk. But after looking into this one, I realized that just wasn't going to be possible, because it is a doozy. First up, let's recap. A few years ago, there was some outrage at the officially released soundtrack for Doom Eternal, as the quality wasn't quite up to the standards that was expected of the game's composer, Mick Gordon. And the game's producers practically threw him under the bus in explaining the situation via a Reddit post. At the time, however, this seemed to amount to nothing more than just a simple dispute between two parties with a not insignificant amount of pettiness thrown in. But more than 2 years after all this, Mickey Boy put up a big old Medium post directly responding to its Reddit posts and pretty much ripped apart anything that they had said, and then some. Like, I was already on Mick Gordon's side because Doom Eternal's development as a whole is now infamous for how hellish it was for everyone involved, but based on the extraordinarily candid words in this post, Marty Stratton didn't just throw him under the bus, he threw him under a slow, crushing steamroller before tossing his mangled body in a Doom-labeled wood chipper. Oh, and also refused to pay him for a majority of the work whilst id tried to give him hush money to keep him quiet. We'd be here all day combing over every part of Gordon's response, but the staggering amount of details and receipts here are undeniably damning to not just id, but also Bethesda. Because what was their response once this started making the rounds? No, fuck you. We have proof you're completely wrong. No one can see it just yet, but just trust us, man. Just trust us. Well, I guess I'll just take their word for it then. Fuck Mickey Gordon. Fuck that goddamn greedy-ass composer. I mean, it's not like Bethesda have had a history of telling bold-faced lies in the past and ripping us off. Now, from here, I would not be surprised if there was some litigation, maybe a settlement, or maybe just absolutely nothing, and both parties just move on with their lives. Once again, anything is possible. It's just unfortunate this had to come in the wake of the Bayonetta 3 crap. So obviously there are people who are doubting his statements. And all I have to say to that is,
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me fuel, give me fire, give me fuel, give me fire, give me...
So Balan Wonderworld is a broken shit heap. Or at least it was before the patches came in. Now it's just a boring shit heap. But that should go without saying. Yet it is worth repeating once in a while, and to prove it, we need look no further than checking out what activities its director, Yuji Naka, has been involved in since its release. Starting with the lawsuit he filed against the game's publisher, Square Enix. Like I said, classic. In the 90th internet post that we have seen today, the man himself says he was removed from that project half a year before its release amidst a conflict between Squeenix and the actual developer, Ars Est. He didn't like the ways they were going about promoting his new child, as they were not up to his standards, and he had also made various complaints about how the game itself wasn't up to his standards, but when he tried to suggest improvements, the higher-ups got snippy and refused to cooperate, culminating in his departure. He made a few attempts to get back into the fray to finish his work, but that also failed, so he just ended up suing. Squeenix barely put out a response to it anyway, only acknowledging that they were indeed being sued, which was clearly not enough for Naka, so he went on another Twitter rant a few months later that... Alright, look, I understand that the man's upset about his experience working with those dumb fucks, and a lot of the points he made are fair in a bubble, but, well, one, this is just getting embarrassing, and two, and this is just pure speculation because I'm surrounded by Sonic fans day in and day out, I would not be surprised if Naka had been removed for being very annoying to work with, as he has a long and storied history of being very annoying to work with, and also being a bit of a dick to work with too. So much so, he was once told by that GTA 4 tattoo guy to fuck off. This is a true story, look it up. Since then, nothing of note occurred, so we're just gonna have to wait for yet another development before we get more info. Or at least that was the idea before the Balan Wonderworld hit the fan and the bastard got arrested. Yep, just a few months ago, Mr. Yuji Naka and a few other Squeenix employees were rounded up and taken to the joint on charges of insider trading related to a then unannounced Dragon Quest mobile game called Tact. They had allegedly been made aware of who the developer for this title was going to be before its announcement, and quickly purchased a huge number of shares in that company. 20k worth of shares in Naka's case. This happened in the middle of the great panic over the Elon Schmuck Twitter takeover, so seeing the reactions to this among the endless alternate social media account links and countless "these are my Twitter memories, RIP Twitter" posts was really, really funny. But what was even funnier was the second insider trading charge arriving not even 2 weeks later. This time, Baka was accused of using non-public info to buy over 800k worth of shares in the developer for the then upcoming Final Fantasy mobile title, FF7: The First Soldier. Actual RIP. Fuck, this year has just been so fucking eventful. I have nothing else to say to this other than Jesus. What's next? Is he gonna get arrested for insider trading for fucking Babylon Fall? God, I hope he tried buying $1 billion worth of shares in Platinum, only for all of it to go away. That would be hilarious. Ugh, God, this year.
La porta è chiusa a chiave, e se le chiavi non sono nella serratura, allora saranno nello studiolo del babbo. Viviamo nel terrore ormai. I miei non mi permetterebbero mai. Servirà un flash. Posso cercarlo tra le cose del babbo, sotto la sua camera da letto.
You still looking at this? Yes. Okay, you recorded this footage almost a year ago. It looks like ass, and now you have a more powerful PC to record decent-looking footage for the finale of this season of controversy that has been going on for over a year and a half now. Why haven't you done it yet? Okay, Jesus Christ. Fine, I'll do it. Oh yeah, I'm sure you will. Oh, how's that Last of Us script coming along, by the way? I heard something about it being too annoying for you to write. Is that the kind of lame-ass excuse you're coming up with these days? Yes, I know. I mentioned it at the start. Oh, I know that you did. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that you did as well. Just to remind you of how MIA you've been. Okay, fuckface, how about you try moving out of the home that you've lived in for 99% of your life and try to maintain a consistent upload rate with all the new responsibilities piled onto you? Well, I wouldn't watch a whole shit ton of anime just to clog that schedule up even further, but I guess we're just two completely different people. Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. You did get that done, right? Like the whole script, all the recording. You got all that done, right? Yeah, I didn't think so. How about you take care of that, and I'll take care of my shit? Take the fucking hat off. Christmas is over. Oh, you don't know how much I would love to. But I've got a little problem here with this thing called intangibility. Yeah, us ghosts tend to have that issue. Here's a tip for anyone wanting to get into content creation. Don't let your actors die on set. or else they're gonna end up milking that fucking green screen you bought for all it's worth.
I heard that.